So friends, we are back with Conversations for Good with Briggs. And we were having our pre-chat and then we decided we're going to hit record because this pre-chat is probably going to be way funnier and way more entertaining and actually probably way more helpful than the episode we had planned. So hi, Briggs. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Corinne. So nice to see you.
So we have this whole outline, as I do for all the episodes, and we're going to say like, because you guys loved our Conversations with Good last time, we're bringing it back. But like, the truth is we haven't even published that one yet. Like, this is how far in advance we are. And also, we're talking about the school year. But this episode is going to be launching on September 24th.
Mm-hmm.
Should we tell them what the date is, Briggs?
Yes, we should. Yes, we should.
It's August 6th. Briggs is like, if you're going to be honest with them that we haven't published it, we need to tell them that the school year hasn't started yet because we're doing a getting organized for the school year. And she's like, our kids haven't gone back to school.
Right. God. We're going to talk about it as if they have.
But are we still going to do that? Or are we going to talk about it like, because now they're going and here's what we're going to do.
Right. Yes. No, I think we can do both, I think, and like anticipate the problems we're going to run into based on the past problems we run into with our adorable children.
That's true. Right. But we got to remember people are listening to this in September, so they are fully immersed in the back to school mindset. So like, let's get ourselves there.
Get into the mindset.
Even though I'm about to take a 2-week vacation.
At the beach.
At the beach. I even put on a long sleeve shirt to look like it's September, but you're in your tank top. We're not fooling anyone, Briggs.
We're not fooling anyone. No, we thought we could, but we know we can't. No.
Okay. Well, now we know. But today we really are going to reflect on the school year, and we're going to be talking about our before and after school routines. And my note said, now that they're fully underway, which they are not, but they are by the time you're listening to this. This is what's weird. So they are fully underway now that you're listening to this. And at the time that this is going live, your kids may have been in school for over a month already at this point. I mean, if you're down south, it could be close to 6 weeks.
Months.
Yeah, close to 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're in the Northeast and your kids start after Labor Day, it might just be a few weeks. But regardless, this is what we're talking about. And we want to have this conversation because as the moms, we know that we get to set the tone and the energy for the school year for our kids. And so we do a way better job at making that tone a positive one when we spend some time thinking about how we're going to set ourselves up for a stress-free school year. So that's what we're talking about. And Briggs, remind everyone how old your kids are.
Yeah. So my oldest is 9 and my younger one just turned 7.
And what grades are they in right now that we're in the school year, now that it started?
They've so enjoyed their 4th grade and 1st grade. But they're in. Yeah.
Got it. And I have a 14-year-old who's starting freshman year of high school.
Right.
Or who started freshman year of high school by the time you're listening to this, and a just turned 11-year-old who just started 6th grade, which is middle school in our town. So big transitions over here. So we want to talk about pain points in the mornings and afternoons and how to fix them, and all the things we're doing to set our kids up for success. And I think it's interesting because our kids span lots of grades here. Lots of ages.
A wide range for sure. With different expectations, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of expectations, Briggs, what are your intentions and expectations for this school year? For yourself, for your kids, for your family?
Yeah.
And so let's say, I think in every episode, am I going to mention that your husband works for NASA? Probably am. Probably.
It gives you a sense of what I'm working with on the
But Briggs, I'm super proud of us because you know what we didn't mention in our last episode?
Yes.
But I think we got to do it now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is that we went to grad school at Harvard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
We're Harvard grads. Yeah,
we went to Harvard. But are you proud of us, audience, that we got through an entire episode without mentioning that? The memes we send each other about Harvard. You don't even want to know. But I think it's more impressive that your husband is a literal rocket scientist. So
it is pretty cool. Yeah, I would say that. And it's nice because not as a result, but that what goes along with that package is someone who has a really good memory, and therefore I don't have to. We talked a little bit about this last time too. Like, he can store all of my memories, and I'll be like, "Hey, did we ever do this?" He's like, "Yeah, we did, like 3 years ago." I'm like, "Oh, how was it? Did I enjoy it? Oh, good. I'm so glad."
I love that.
It's great. Teamwork.
Well, there was 0 point to me bringing up that we went to Harvard. 0. There was a point to me mentioning that your husband works at NASA, and is that he actually travels quite a bit, and he travels internationally and has gone for long stretches. So I think it's a piece of your story when you're talking about back to school, because you have to manage a lot of the day-to-day solo.
Yeah, that's true. So my husband, in addition to working at NASA, also does the dishes really well.
Oh, we love it.
He's got these
so
two
hot.
areas of specialty.
So hot.
And so, but when he goes out of town, as you say, like I, now that the kids are old, refuse to do the dishes. And so when he goes out of town, now the kids have to do the dishes. So I'm never doing the dishes.
I love that.
Which is great for me. And they've actually gotten very good at it. They work together. They have stools to put the dishes away because they're not tall enough to like do it themselves. Like, it's a whole system, and it works out really well. However, the downside to it is that when he's about to go out of town, they're like, "Oh, Dad, you're going to go out of town. Hey, we're going to have to do the dishes."
We always talk about core memories all over social media. Core memories. Their core memory is going to be, Dad goes out of town. Time to do dishes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's like an extra blow to the system when Dad goes out of town. But it works. They get it done, and it works out okay. And they really don't complain about it too much. But it goes a little bit to what I was going to say, though, about like the ways in which I parent.
So why is it fun? You take parenting very seriously. So it's funny that you're laughing about whatever's about to come out of your mouth. But all right, I'm going to compose myself. Go with it.
In this way, I don't. You can decide. You can judge for yourself. And whether, I feel like other people have to do this too. But what I do is, I feel like I have this spotlight with parenting, right? Because you can't do all of the things all of the time, right? There are so many different areas of their childhoods that I want to be, advanced, amazing, whatever. And so I'll be focusing on one thing, and then I'll focus on the next thing and the next, and I'll never be able to get all of them exactly how I want, right? I really want them to be confident in their math skills. I really want them to eat healthy. I really want, all the things that parents want as for our kids. But I'm never doing all of them in the way I want to be. So and I don't do this consciously at all. I'll really focus in on one of them for a time, and then I'll find that the other ones are totally slipping. And often what slips is the chores. And so after several months of them doing no chores, I'll be like, "Oh, darn it. I've been focusing on swimming and activities, and I want them to have a lot of free time so they can be imaginative and creative on their own without me telling them what to do and scheduling them in," right? And there's that whole battle too, right? How many activities to have them in versus how much free time they should have, et cetera. But then I get to this place where I'm like, "Oh, I haven't done chores for so long. Okay, now you're going to do 18 things." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Okay, listen, when you guys wake up, you need to brush your teeth, make your bed, vacuum your bedroom." I'm just kidding. But like all of a sudden,
all the things.
We've gone 6 months without doing anything. You guys are slacking off, which is totally my fault because I haven't been having them do it. So what I need to do for the morning routine is to have them start with 2 things that they need to do on their own, right? And then work from there. So like a scaffolding process, instead of me all of a sudden realizing, they have to get these chores done every morning or whatever. Do you do this too, or is it just me?
I don't want to be like, it's just you're all alone, but I do not do that necessarily because I would say my focus is probably flipped from yours. Whereas I'm very focused on the kids being on top of their routines and their schedules. And I am maybe less involved in I don't want to call it accomplishments, but like on the, what would you call it? Like on the specific skill sets that they're working on. I think also a piece of that is my kids are older, right? So at this point, I'm like, if they're not making their beds, like we've got bigger problems. And also I'm not so involved. Like when my kids have activities, like a lot of times parents aren't like literally are not allowed in.
Right.
So I think it's maybe like the opposite where I'm more involved in the chores and tasks that they're doing and making sure that they're like really on top of that.
And you are a professional organizer, so I feel like
correct. Business, you do know what we do here, right, Briggs? That we organize people's homes and lives, right? It tracks. It does. I am actually, so what do they say? I'm the opposite of like the shoemaker's kids don't have any shoes. Like, isn't that how the saying goes? Well, this shoemaker's kids have the best shoe. I mean, my kids their organizing skills are top notch. So
all the shoes that they need, but not more than they need.
Exactly. Exactly. We don't exactly what they need and not a fraction more. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but back to the morning routine.
Okay.
The other thing that I wanted to say was, I think in my experience with my friends and with me is that I think that's the hardest, right? Is getting out the door.
Yeah.
You got to do it on time.
Yep.
Everyone's tired. No one really wants to. Typically, people are stressed about things they're going to have to do at work. So then adding this new stress of getting your kids to put their shoes on, like, why is this the thing that's stressing me out? So in my experience, I feel like the biggest hurdle to that is mindset, which we talk about all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
But being willing to accept that it's a process to get them to a place where they will do the things they need to do and that it's not their fault and that we don't need to just be mad about it every day. Like we have to accept that like I can fix this and I will fix this. Mm-hmm. And it'll become a morning routine that I actually enjoy and that they feel good about and that is possible.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's true?
Yes. And I have definitely seen that now that my kids are older. So let me back up and give the major caveat that we are morning people in our household. And I feel lucky that my kids are too. It was super freaking annoying when they were little and would never, ever, 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 ever sleep in. I remember the first time each of my kids slept till 8 a.m. and I was like, what has happened? Now, as the kids get older and go through puberty and whatnot, they definitely sleep later. So it's not that my kids are up super early on the weekends now, but it is not actually very hard for them to get up in the morning. And I think that makes a huge difference. And I think we shouldn't discount that because we don't have the same battles in the morning as like I talked to some of my friends whose kids just cannot get up. My kids also have an appetite in the morning. So it's not a battle to get them to eat where some kids don't. And then we worry as moms that our kids aren't eating before school. So, some of it is being very aware of just like who your kids are. So this school year that we're in right now, that has already started, even though not, my kids will get on the same bus at 7:01 in the morning. So they will have to get up, get themselves, both of my kids shower in the morning, get themselves breakfast, all the things out the door by 7:01. I personally love that they will be out of the house that early because I love to start my day early as well. Mm-hmm. And so for us, that looks like all of the prep the night before, right? Making sure I don't really make the kids pick out their outfits anymore because they're old enough that is not the hemming and hawing that it used to be. But we do make sure lunches are prepped, devices are charged, that everything is ready so that they could just get out the door and go because it had been a pain point for so many years. Just all the things you're talking about. Where your shoes? What are you going to wear? All the things. Everything was a battle. I used to say I felt like I had gone to war before 8 a.m. every morning. Fortunately, it's not like that anymore. But I think some of that is all these years of having a routine of making sure that we're prepped the night before to get out of the house. And I do still make sure that my kids' devices are charged the night before, that they're plugged in. Like I'm not making them do that all themselves. I am still, like you were saying, I'm the boss of what happens in the house and the boss of them being on top of their routines, but they're getting themselves up. It's also their social pressure now, right? They don't want to walk into school late. They don't want to walk into school with disheveled hair, right? They want to be put together. So they've got their own intrinsic, well, I guess that's not intrinsic. I guess it's still extrinsic, right? From their peers or whatever, but like, it's not coming from mommy, right? It's coming from themselves, this desire to get out of the door on time. That I don't think answered your question at all, but that's what That's what's happening over here in the mornings.
No, I think that's great. And I think the thing I also wanted to mention is what you talk about all the time, which is such a great point to make, is the night before, getting everything ready, which can be really hard to do when you're exhausted, right?
Yes.
So, but like you do, once the kids get home from school, that's when they pack their snacks for the next day. You don't have to wait until 10 p.m. and then be mad that I'm so tired, I just want to go to bed. I'll do it in the morning. And the morning comes, like, oh, I'm so tired now. And now I've got on my head all the things I have to do today. I can't do it now, et cetera. And then it just becomes a whole spiraling thing. And then you're mad at yourself. And then the kids pick up on that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's, what is it? Fool me once, shame on you. Wait, we went to fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on. So it's like, right, I've fallen into that. I'm too tired. I'll just do it in the morning. Okay, I'm tired too. We'll do it in the morning. And then the morning comes, you're like, what are we doing? Why do we do this? So I've been burned enough by that we, and we, like you said, we do it right when they get home from school. It's immediately unpack the lunches, repack snacks for the next day, whatever, plug in the devices. And oftentimes the kids are doing their homework. I'm like, great, have it charged while you're doing your homework. Double duty here. But it is that, because I'm tired at the end. The downside to us all being morning people is we're all tired pretty early at night. So I don't have that stamina to do all the things late at night.
Right. And I feel like the other thing that I've noticed this past summer with swim meets was that we would have to get up at like 5 and get out of the door by 6 or 6:15.
Yeah.
What I noticed is the few times where I'm like, oh, I'll do these two things in the morning, is that when the morning comes, you kind of forget what needs to be done somehow, right? Because you've been sleeping. And so it's like a brand new day. And that reset button that was hitting your head is like, oh, what do we need for swim meets? And I have it all written down on a list, of course, and I can refer back to the list. But there's been times when I didn't put I have everything out in the entryway, right? And I didn't put a little note on in the entryway that says, get the lunches, because those are in the fridge. And so we left and we didn't have a lunch. And I was like, oh, I put all that time into these pathetic lunches. I mean, they're not the greatest lunches, but I still tried. And then we leave them, so I'm like, I have to add that to my list of things to do, is put a note in the entryway to get the lunches, before you go out the door. It's just no reason to have to do any thinking that morning.
Right.
That's
Agreed.
the goal, right? Just enjoy the morning as best you can.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, wait. So just circling back to my question of what are your intentions and expectations for the year? Did you answer that question? You talked about, so you were saying how you feel like you're not on top of all the things all the time. So is the goal to feel a little bit more balanced about that, or was that not where you were going with that?
Yeah, well, I think so. Is to do the scaffolding. I think that was the goal, is to have set myself small goals with all the things.
Got
and
it.
Not expect to have 40 hours in a day, because I don't have 40 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So backing off on all of that, remembering from last year that in my head, I had an expectation that we would do some math outside of the school math after school, but we never ever did it. But because I went back to they need free time.
Yeah.
They need time to unwind. They would usually cry after school a little bit for some reason, right? Because they're exhausted from school. Like, why would I put this extra? Why have I decided in my head that this is an expectation that they have to meet and that I have to meet, that we never met because it was just too much? So recognizing those things too, that actually went well, that we did 0 extra math during the school year. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. We do it in the summer, we do it during breaks, like a winter break, spring break, that's when we do it, but we don't otherwise do it. It was nice for me to be like,
I love a low bar. I love a lowered bar. It feels so good, right?
Right. My expectation is to have very little expectation.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
And then, so then the morning routine, and then the after school routine, I think we're sort of touching on it now, I guess, too, right?
Yeah.
The expectation is to not have them do too much, because I know now, having had a year or two of them being in the school, that after that full day of being in school, they need to just decompress, relax, eat lots and lots of snacks, and then go to our activities. So I have we don't do too much, but then I do prep that after they go to bed is when I do my prep for the next morning.
Love it. And you love a nightly bath, right? You and I love our baths.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, that's going nowhere. I am definitely going to do that.
Yeah, that's part of our. So as we were sort of outlining this episode, we were thinking about routines that support us as moms, our own self-care, routines that support our kids, and then routines that support the family unit. So clearly we are not sticking to any outline here, but we're touching on all the things. And yeah, really thinking about what do we need as moms? And I think a lot of times, as you're pointing out, those things are aligned. Like your kids don't need math and you also don't need to fight with them. So by eliminating that, it's a win-win for both. And that's always the goal. It doesn't always work out that way because we, not all of our needs are always going to align, but when it does, that feels very satisfying.
Yeah, it really does. And why I came up with this idea that I was going to do this every day, I don't know. And again, it's one of these subconscious things that every day I was disappointed in myself for not doing something that I have decided I needed to do.
Yes.
Right? Getting rid of that, why did I decide this back in the day? I don't need to do this. Doing it for yourself, letting it go, right?
Because you had not yet discovered immersive productivity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Let's talk about it. And I've already released the episode on immersive productivity. Everyone loved it. Okay, just kidding. It actually hasn't come. I've recorded it this morning. Recorded it just before I recorded this one. We know. And the reason we do know this for real is because when I did an Instagram post and a LinkedIn post about it, the feedback that I got was so phenomenal. And not just I loved that or what it was. I had people super close to me. One of them was one of my best friends, also my husband, being like, this has really made me think about work differently. For both of them was in a work context, but I'm like, hell yeah, we're on to something with this idea. So talk about it in terms of this context, Briggs.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the immersive productivity concept is, do you want to describe it since it's your baby, or do you want me to? Yeah,
you do. Let me just sit back here. I've done all the other episodes. Briggs, yeah. I'm gonna sit back, got my iced coffee. Let me hear you talk about it. Go.
You can tell me if I'm right or not. How's that?
Okay. Or the audience can say, who said it better?
That's good. That's good. So the immersive productivity idea is that instead of just ticking off things on your list and then being done with those things and then feeling really unsatisfied because all you've done is ticked off tasks, that you kind of keep going and then you never stop getting things done. Instead of that, we want people to immerse themselves in their work, get the deep work done, also check off the tasks. We don't want people to shirk their responsibilities at work, at home, right? You have to get things done. You have to get their kids off to school, all that stuff. But there is a place in everyone's life and every day to get some deep work done. And we want people to make the space and the time for that and to prioritize it above the checking off of the things. Because in addition to really making progress and deciding what work really matters the most, you also then will feel good about turning that off and then immersing yourself in some deep relaxation and you're done for the day. So let's see, I have started doing this already, which is awesome, feels really good. So for example, honestly, I've added it into the sort of things I need to tick off my box too, instead of thinking about it as I just need to get this done. Do I have the energy to get this done? I'm instead backing up and thinking, what is the purpose of my doing this? What's the big goal? What would it be if what would happen if this work that I am doing came to fruition and had it the outcome I was hoping for, right? Because we're doing work for some future outcome most of the time. And then sitting with that and using that as my motivator, as opposed to I've got 20 minutes and then I can have a snack or whatever it is the day to day. And then really trying to turn it off when I am done and thinking, I put my time in, I got the boxes are all checked and the deep work that I wanted to do today is done. I feel great about it. Now I'm done. I don't feel like lingering. I need to do more. I don't need to do more. I'm done. Right. And practicing that, because I think it takes practice to turn it on, get the work done, be immersed in it, and then turn it off and stop, avoid the tendency to be a workaholic.
I love it. I mean, we need to cut that sound clip. Producers, can we cut that sound clip and put it back into the last episode I recorded? No, I'm just kidding. But no, you said it amazingly well. And the thing that it's making me think of, which I didn't say in that episode, is and I get weird. You and I get weird sometimes in so many ways, but in this particular way, what I'm about to say is we think a lot about energy, the energy in the world and the energy we're putting behind things. And that's what you're really speaking to is, are you bringing this energy, this really positive, clear energy to the work that you're doing so that you can help manifest the outcome? Not because you're dreaming it to be so. You're actually doing the work, but you're doing it with such deep intention and such clear energy that it is more likely to bring about the result that you want. And I've been doing this as well behind the scenes with work and feeling super excited about what we're doing. And I'm trying to do it at home. I've found it more difficult. I think also because it's still summertime at the time of recording this. So I'm just naturally less stressed, I think. So I haven't felt that same inner tension. I do feel like I'm slower and more centered, but I know once we're in the thick of being back at school and that pace, that hecticness that's when it becomes so important to slow down so that you can speed up, right? Like have that energy so you can get the right things done and really be focused on the outcome that you're hoping for, but not being so attached to it, right? Like that's what we always say. You can't be so attached to a particular outcome, but being very clear on what you would like to see. That or better, as they say, that or better.
Yeah. I think exactly. So yeah, I think that I'm going to continue doing what I have been doing, which I don't know if I described in any great detail, but just the trying to really, like you're saying, center myself. I've even started to write down like, what is the purpose of this work that I'm doing next? And then I can refer back to that. So every time I work on that task, I can look at the overarching goals for that task. Like, oh yeah, that's why I'm doing this. That's why this is important. Got it. And then honestly, it makes it much more fun too. So instead of thinking like, oh, I've got to get this work done. I'm too tired or whatever. You can instead be like, this is exciting. I would love for this outcome to happen. So that makes this moment a big moment potentially, and exciting and fun, and not all the time, obviously, but like has the potential for that instead of just, I have to go drive to the office and I have to turn my computer on. And then I've got so-and-so wrote this email that I'm so annoyed, like, try to,
make it a happy moment. I started that, or actually, I don't think I started it because I ended up re-recording that episode. I didn't like how I'd started it. But I referenced this quote, a happy life is just a string of happy moments, but most people don't allow the happy moment because they're so busy trying to get a happy life. And the way you're describing it is it's making those moments happy moments, bringing that excitement and energy, not just to the outcome, but to the work that you're doing so that you have more of those strings of happy moments, because those strings of happy moments are what make the happy life. So yeah, I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you're saying, you don't have to, you've said this many times, like you don't have to wait for your vacation to be happy.
Yeah.
You don't have to be thinking about this next thing I'm going to do later will be the thing that'll make my life better. Like this is a great life and I can choose how I feel in this moment. I can choose how I, react to everything. And
yeah, all the things. So switching gears a little bit, as I think about my expectations or intentions for the school year, I was thinking about my hopes for last year, and I was feeling really bit by the adventure bug. And so my goal last school year was that we do a lot of family adventures on the weekend and that I could feel more spontaneous. And we did. We went on some super fun trips and we really manifested that. And it was an amazing year. And this year's different. It feels more grounded at home now that my kids are starting, one in high school and one going to middle school, and they're involved in bigger ways in their activities. That's not the goal. But I have a big goal and I've shared it with our team, which is to be done work every day by 3:00 so that I can be more involved, believe it or not, in the carpooling of the kids around. And it's not, I'm just going to say it's not something I enjoy. I just don't. I don't love driving. It's such a time crunch, but it's also such a great way to spend time with our kids. And we have a no phones in the car rule, like when we're around town, so that we can talk to each other. And last year, and I shared this, I had hired a babysitter to drive my kids where they need to go. It mostly ended up being my daughter, who dances. Last year, she danced 3 to 5 days a week, depending on what was happening. This current school year is 3 times a week. But she didn't love that. She didn't love being driven by the babysitter. And the babysitter was amazing. It was nothing to do with that. And she was really thinking about quitting dancing. And I was like, I don't understand it. She loves dancing. She's so so happy there and so happy on stage. And so I don't know what clicked. I just had an intuition. I said, if I were to drive you, would you quit? And she's like, no, I'll still do it. So we're going to experiment with what that looks like with me driving her. I mean, the kids have activities daily. My sense is that my son's activities are mostly going to be at school now that he's in high school. So we won't necessarily need to be driven anywhere, just picked up. And then, when my husband is home from work, he does a lot of the pickups in the evening, afternoon. But so this is a radical shift. Whereas last year I was like, I am outsourcing the day to day so that I can open myself up for more adventure on the weekends. Like, let me work more. I can get all this stuff done during the week. And now it's like, I think we're going to be a little bit more close to home. Let me stop my work day earlier so that I can be more engaged with my kids in these ways that really matter to them. It's not how necessarily I would choose to spend my time with them, but it's what is important to them, or at least to my daughter. And so we're going to experiment and see how that works. So my intention for myself is to enjoy that and not get frustrated at like leaving some emails potentially unresponded to at the end of the day and having to get to them the next morning because the priority is being with the kids. And I don't want it to turn into, well, I'm logging back on my computer at 6:00 at night. I'm the freaking boss of this business, Briggs. I should be able to say, the email can wait till tomorrow, right? No one's telling me it has to be done at the end of the day. That is my own issue, which is where this immersive productivity concept was born, right? It's like, it doesn't all have to be done just to tick the things off the list. And so let me enjoy my relaxation at the end of the day. And we've talked as a team what it's going to look like to have a shortened workday. Newsflash, it works for all of us because we're all moms. So everyone's actually looking forward to this. But yeah, so this is a big shift. And this is why I feel like this conversation is so important, because it doesn't look the same year over year. That having morning routines that are strong, having afternoon routines that are strong is imperative, but what they are might shift from year to year. And also our goals for ourselves and for our kids and for our families might shift year to year. And beyond that, to be honest, I don't know. Last year, my goal was very crystal clear in my mind. It isn't this year, and that's okay too, because I do have this sort of overarching theme, which is shorter work days, being more present when I'm actually with the kids, and then not having any bitterness or resentment about that because it's my freaking choice. No one's making me do this, so I can't be mad about it.
Yeah. I think that's really great.
Yeah. Any other takeaways that we hope the audience leaves with about back to school? Yeah.
I was going to say to that is that I think one of your goals is to sort of have fewer goals, right? Like be less structured and not put things on yourself in order to do. So I think you are attaining a goal this coming school year by not having as many goals. I think that is, based on my talks with you over the last few months, I feel like that is maybe exactly where you need to be. Yeah. Just, we'll see how the year goes, and that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you for mirroring that back to me, because I don't think I articulated in that way. And it's for someone I am not competitive, but I am extremely goal oriented. And to be in that place of just not having goals is like a little foreign, a little uncomfortable. It feels a little bit like sort of like this empty space, not emptiness in a negative way, but it's like, do I got to fill this with something or no? It's like you and I had all of these conversations. We've shared this. Did we share this in our last episode? I don't know, about the conversation around what do we do with our free time? I've shared our conversation many times, like within the membership and the people I coach. I'm not sure. Right. I don't think we shared that. Now.
I think you did I think when you talked in the spring, one of the episodes was about free time and the paradox of free time.
Yes.
You talked about our conversation then, I think.
Got it. Yes. Look, see, she said she didn't have a good memory and her husband's not even here to cue that back in.
How do you know that? He may be. Earbuds.
Ooh. I love it. But yeah, so that if you want to go listen to that episode, The Paradox of Free Time, that was a great one. But it's the same concept of when you're used to being so busy all the time or used to being so goal oriented, you have to give yourself a little bit of grace at this recalibration process of like, I'm not that person anymore, but I'm not fully anchored into this new person who can be a little less productive, who can be more immersed in my relaxation, who can be a little less goal oriented. And yeah, there's some evolution that has to come into that. And so give yourself some grace. But I also, it's funny. I think in our world, we have seen that people can and do change. Most people don't because they don't put in the work and they don't have the desire. Yeah. But you can if you really are clear and you're taking the right steps. Because I feel like I've changed a ton. I feel like you feel that you have as well since we've started this business.
Yeah, definitely. In the best of ways.
In the best of ways.
Don't you just think your 40s are just the best?
Well, yes, for sure they are, for a whole slew of reasons, which we will not talk about in this podcast.
Tune in for a later one.
Yes, after hours, Corinne and Briggs, after dark. Right? Okay, anyway, bring it back. I don't know if I have anything else productive to say to you. No.
I don't think so either. I thought this was great.
Yeah.
I hope everyone else thinks so too. I think I'm so amazing. I hope everyone agrees.
I love it. It's so funny because we should do a love languages episode. I am not words of affirmation. I don't want anyone's freaking words of affirmations except for Briggs. Yes. I love her words of affirmations for me. I don't want to hear from anyone else. I just don't. But I love when Briggs tells me that. So I'm taking it. It's a high praise. We did good, Briggs.
You really did.
Okay. It was good. All right. But I have to end every episode with some takeaways. So I'm going to compose myself. I'm going to bring it back together. So everyone who's like, literally what just happened? What did I just spend 36 minutes listening to? Hopefully on 2 times speed, friends. But okay. So as moms, we get to set the tone for this school year for ourselves, for our kids, and for our families. We get to do that. It is our privilege to be able to do that. So let's really be intentional about it so that it is coming from the highest version of ourselves and not from the cranky, exhausted, overstimulated version. So really take that time to think about from your best self, what does that look like? And I'm very pleased to say that all along I was planning to share my back to school workshop with you, but now I'm even happier now that this conversation went in a million different directions, because in that workshop, I actually share very specific action steps. I mean, here we go again. I think I'm going to share them because I'm recording tomorrow or in 2 days. It didn't actually happen yet, but I'm really so certain I'm going to stick to the in that workshop. So what we're going to do for you is we are going to put a link to watch the replay of that back to school workshop. But in it, I really am talking about the action steps you can take in 5 different categories to help you get organized for the school year. It's going to be very tactical, very tangible. You are going to walk away from that feeling like, okay, now I've got the roadmap because I listened to this episode and I don't know what train I was on, but now I'm getting the steps that I need. So check the show notes for that. We will drop a link to that in the show notes below. So if you want to get a deeper dive into how to really make this a great school year, go there. And then, I don't even know what to tell you about this episode, but it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun.
That was great.
And if you enjoyed it for real, send us a DM and let us know that you want to hear more of these. You want to hear less of these. What topics exactly?
Right. Or please have a topic next time.
I'm not even drinking caffeine. This is decaf. I'm on my decaf.
No, I got nothing. I have water.
I was going to say I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm going to say you're welcome for this episode. I'm going to say you're welcome because it was fabulous. So I hope you all have an amazing day because you are amazing.